What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Talkin Football podcast. This is episode 15. This will be uploaded probably around the same time as the NFC South, not the NFC South, the NFC West video that I just recorded. So when you're done with this video, go check out the other video. If you just watched the other video and you're watching this one, go check it out because watch it again. Watch it again. It's great. It's great football stuff, right? I don't know. Anyways, as you can tell by the title of this one, we're doing the NFC North predictions, and that's basically that. We're just going to hop right into the intro, and let's get into record predictions after it. All right, the good old NFC North. So the NFC North has always this is just how it's been, in my opinion. The NFC North is a division where there's always one leader and there's a bunch of stragglers behind it, and it just changes every year. Like who's that leader going to be? This year it's a little bit different because it's more in the open. The Lions are great. The Packers are a good team. The Bears have built a very solid team. The Vikings, they should not be taken out of the question. They're not that bad. I mean, there's not a bad team. The Vikings are getting disrespected, and I'll talk about them when I get to them. It's more in the open, and that's kind of what I like. Like I like when divisions are more open. It brings more flexibility, more unknown to the NFL, and the NFC North is always going to do that. Last year, the Lions shot through and they won the division, and they haven't done that since literally the 90s. It's been a very long time since they did that. And that's kind of what I like about this division. It's that it's open every year, and this year it's basically open. It's open again. But let's just get right into the predictions with my team in fourth place, the Bears. So the thing is with the Bears, here's the problem with them: they're getting too overhyped. They have a rookie quarterback, and they have Matt Eberflus. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not a Matt Eberflus guy. He's like one of my non-guys. I'm not a guy. I'm not a fan. I'm not a Matt Eberflus guy. I'm not a fan of Matt Eberflus. It's been that way for the last 2 years. I thought they should have fired him, but I guess he pled his case, and they said, look, we need to have someone for Caleb Williams. And they said, okay, fine, fair enough. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt here. I just don't see them getting anything better than 7 wins. Look, they have a very solid team. They have good pieces everywhere, and they could go as high as 10, 11 wins, as I've seen some biased Bears fans say, Adam Rank, as I've seen those people say. And they could. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that that's not necessarily true. I think that's their ceiling. That's not like an accurate record prediction. That's their ceiling. Look, I like Caleb Williams. He was the obvious best prospect in this draft. There's no denying it. I'm accepting that fact. But I think maybe in a couple of years, then you could see this team be a top dog. If you just came from the NFC West video, you know that I said this about the Cardinals. The Cardinals are like Cardinals and the Bears are in the same boat. Really good young pieces, really good star pieces that they added. They just need to kind of put everything together, and I think in a couple of years they will. The Bears, as long as they have Matt Eberflus, they're not going to be doing that. Now, look, I like Caleb. I like DJ Moore. I like Romu Dunze. I like DeAndre Swift. Like, they've made good additions. Keenan Allen, I'm a little iffy on since he's gained a lot of weight. I don't know if you guys have seen, but he's gained like 15 to 20 pounds of weight this offseason, which is concerning because he's already slow as is. I mean, he's close. As Booger McFarland says, he's a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end. Like, he's close. He's very close. Offensive line is a little iffy. I don't know if I like it that much. I like Darnell Wright, but I don't know if they have enough pieces anywhere else to consistently protect Caleb Williams. On the defensive side of the ball, they have Jalen Johnson, who's an absolute lockdown corner. But other than, I mean, they have Tremaine Edmonds, who's solid. You know, I don't like their defense as much as some other people do. I just don't see. I think that defense will probably hold them up a little bit. And look, there's always going to be a couple of games where defenses hold the opposing offense to maybe like 17 points or less, which is a good defensive showing. I think the Bears will have a couple of games like that this year. Like maybe out of their 7 wins, 3 of those are like that. But like I don't like their defense enough to have anything better than 7 wins this year, in my opinion. Now look, keep in mind I would not be surprised at all if they made the playoffs. I would not be surprised if they went and won double-digit games. But I just don't see them doing that with a rookie quarterback. And look, I know Caleb Williams has that kind of like energy to him. Like he's a guy where they can bring in a rookie quarterback and they can make the playoffs, but I don't think he's like that. Look, expectations are high and he's never really dealt with that. And I don't care. USC, the expectations are not high. At USC, you're not winning anything, okay? Like the top dogs of college football are Ohio State, Georgia, Bama, Michigan. Those guys are the expectations you're winning the title. You're not winning anything at USC. They lost so many times last year. They lost to Utah in the Pac-12 championship last year or 2 years ago when they were the number 4 team. That can't happen, and that's kind of why I have them being where they are. I just don't see a world where Caleb Williams does enough to a team to make them a playoff caliber team. They're just not at that point yet. And neither are the Vikings. And I know this might upset my guys go Vikings in the comment section. Here's the thing with the Vikings, or maybe it might make them happy. I don't know, because look, the Vikings have gotten so much disrespect. Respect the Vikings, please. And I know it's hard. Take it with a grain of salt. But the Vikings are not a bad team. They're not. They're really not. They have 2 fantastic tackles, and Brian O'Neill on the right and Darisaw on the left. They have Jefferson. And even if they don't have Addison for however long it is, because now he got hurt and plus the suspension potentially, they still have Brandon Powell. They're going to get Hawkinson back midseason. They added Aaron Jones. I think Sam Darnold's in for a relatively good season with these weapons. Kevin O'Connell's a quarterback guru. That's what he's known for. That's what the expectation is. He made Nick Mullins look good, other than like the couple of. If Nick Mullins, and this is genuinely how I feel, if Nick Mullins had a slightly better arm last year, the Vikings, instead of when I think when they go 6-11, 7-10, they probably won 8 or 9 games. It's because Nick Mullins always has he has a bigger heart than he does an arm or whatever, or he has more confidence than his arm, something like that, where he thinks he can make those plays, but he really can't. And that's kind of how it's been for however long he's been in the league for. And keep in mind, Kevin O'Connell made Joshua Dobbs look like an all-time great quarterback for those couple of weeks in that pass or not run. Look, the thing is, I think that O'Connell can do that with Darnold. And on the defensive side, look, they just lost Kyrie Jackson in a car accident. Here's the thing. That, based on if I had to guess, that's going to bring them together closer. That's going to bring them more energy. And look, they have a week 1 game against the Giants. That's a winnable game. And I hate saying that, it's a winnable game. It is genuinely speaking, it's a winnable game for them. Are they going to win it? That's a different question. But could they? Yes. There's no doubt in my mind that this team could definitely make they could probably start out 1-0. Now, they do have a rough schedule to start out the season, but late, like near the end, it's not that bad. So that's where I think they're going to get some of those wins. But keep in mind, this team beat San Francisco last year. They beat a team that went to the Super Bowl. I mean, yes, that was with Kirk Cousins, but it was without Jefferson. This is not a team this is not a pushover. Minnesota's going to win 8 or 9 wins. They're going to have 8 or 9 wins. They're not as bad as you think. They're probably going to be around 8 or 9 wins. And then maybe next year when they figure out their quarterback situation, if J.J. McCarthy comes back, or when J.J. McCarthy comes back, rather, this is going to be a different story. You're going to have Jefferson. You're going to have Addison. You're going to have McCarthy. On the defense side of the ball, Dallas Turner's going to have 1 more year under his belt. They have Byron Murphy. They added Stephon Gilmore. This team is an 8-win team this year, and I would have said this if you asked me this question a couple weeks ago. I don't get all the hate around Minnesota. This is not a bottom feeder. They're not. They're a top. They're not a top level team. I shouldn't go that far, but they're definitely a good enough team to at least give some playoff teams or borderline playoff teams a hard time when it gets close to January. Let's talk about the Packers. So let's get real. The Packers are not amazing. They're not. They're not great. They're good. They're a good team. Good in my opinion is 10-7. That's good. They're not anything. I don't see them being anything better than this. This is. I feel like their ceiling. If Jordan Love plays at the level of his contract, they're a 13-win team. But I don't think he will. I see them as a 10-win team this year. And again, it's a tough division. I have Green Bay as the 5th seed. In the NFC, so they would play Atlanta in the opening round. No, that's really important. But anyways, look, let's be real here. Green Bay is not a 13+ win team. I don't even think they're a 12+ win team. I think 10-7 to maybe 12-5. That kind of just contradicts what I just said, but they're not a 13+ win team. Their ceiling is 12-5. They're not anything higher than that. Their floor is like 7-10. So they're right around that middle market here. They had good offseason. They signed Josh Jacobs, and even though they lost AJ Dillon, they have Marshawn Lloyd behind Josh Jacobs. They have a sneaky good receiving core between Watson, Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks. They have Luke Musgrave at tight end, who I really like. Their offensive line's solid enough to give some good defensive lines a headache. Defensively, they're not bad either. You have Jair Alexander. You have Kenny Clark. The Packers have always just been a team that they just get a bunch of players that you're like, oh, okay, I know who he is, but like we should be okay there. And then you play the game and you're like, we were not okay there. That you played well, surprisingly. They just know how to build those late round talents up, and they've been doing that forever. So this is a 10-win team here. Even though they might not be the deepest team at certain positions, but actually that's not true. They have good depth everywhere. I mean, and that's why that's really what's going to carry them to those 10 wins, as well as if Jordan Love can play up to the standard that he did last year. Detroit. Okay, so the thing with the Lions is this. Look, Detroit's still Detroit at the end of the day, but with Dan Campbell, they're a different breed. Okay. And I was thinking about this. I was like, what am I going to have Detroit at? And I was going through the schedule. I'm like, are they going to be a team that should be good and then does terrible or does terribly? Are they at that level where they're going to do that? Where they're supposed to have 12, 13 wins and they only win like 6 or 7 and they have to reset? I thought about that because remember, Detroit's going to Detroit. They're the Lions. Remember, like they were the laughingstock of the league for like 20 years. But they're not and I was like, no, that's not how they are. That's not what they're like anymore. I have the Detroit as the 2nd seed in the NFC. They're 12-5. Look, this is a good team. They are filled with depth. Their offensive line is phenomenal. They have 2 unbelievably good running backs. St. Brown, fantastic. Williams, good. Goff, been good. Let me talk about Jared Goff for a little bit before I go into the defense. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's that Detroit is a smaller market. Like what are big football markets? New York. I would say that Dallas is one. I would say that Philly is one. Los Angeles for the most part. I would say and then probably Miami. Like those are like the 5 like big markets for football. Like maybe San Fran. Like if I had to list off a couple off the top of my head, it would be those. Detroit's not necessarily they love their Lions up there, but they're not a big market, so the expectations aren't as high every year because the fans know what's up. They're like, whatever. Jared Goff playing under these expectations, so much better. With the Rams, they were unbelievably high. Like they were unnecessarily high on Jared Goff, and that's why I think he was so bad. Or he wasn't even that bad. I think he just underperformed. But now he's with Detroit, and now he's playing at a very high level. He's threading the needle when he needs to. Look, playing very, very, very well. I'll give credit to Jared Goff where it's due. He's playing well in Detroit, and Dan Campbell's done everything he can for him, and that's awesome. Defensively, Aiden Hutchinson, beast. Like he's a beast. I love Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell's one of my favorite players on that defense. And when he got drafted, everyone was clowning them for drafting. It was like that was a perfect pick. He fits the Detroit way perfectly. Jack Campbell is Detroit. All right. And I remember, so I wrote an article about this when I first started getting into this. I said, look, I don't know why the Lions are getting so much hate for it. And everyone was like, oh, this is a terrible draft. Why are you going with, why are you going with this linebacker he's not that good? Like, what's the point? And I was like, not that good. Like, where are you getting that from? Like, what are you talking about? And then past that, you look at the secondary that they completely revamped. Carlton Davis, who they traded for this offseason. They have Ennis Rakestraw, who they got in the draft. They got Terry Arnold in the draft. Brian Branch, I like. Kirby Joseph, who is I'm not going to say he's a bit. He is a dirty hitter, which I don't like. That's like the one thing I don't like about Kirby Joseph. He's a very good cover corner, very good cover safety, but he is he is dirty. He took out like 2 players last year. Not good. James Houston is not James Houston. James Houston, he's a very good edge rusher too. He broke out for a couple sacks last year. DJ Reader, who they have. This is a very good tier. Alan McNeil is also unbelievably good too. Slept on low-key. The Lions are a good team, all right? And they should not be slept on. Not that they really are getting slept on, but now is definitely not the time to sleep on a team like the Lions. They're feisty. They're ready to get that Super Bowl. Is this the year? It might be. I don't know if it is, but they're definitely close, in my opinion. So that's where we're going to end this episode of the NFC North predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed. Starting tomorrow, we're going to have the AFC. We're going to start with the AFC, probably with the East. Probably we're going to do it in the same order: AFC East, South, West, and then North to end it. And before you know it, football is going to be here. So, yeah, I'm talking football. This is talking football. That's what I got to say about that.